The ISLM model was developed by Hicks in response to John Maynard Keynes' theory of unemployment, interest, and money. So before we start talking about this model, we should say that the economy is closed, the prices are pretty much fixed, and it's the short run. So this model, in general, works for real output and real interest rates. So it's a pretty much fantasy world. So what is so special about this model? Why do we need it? So what Keynes presumed is that the economy exists in two dimensions, in two markets, two forces which can balance each other, which is basically the stabilization effect on the economy. So what are these two forces? Which are these two hands? These are the goods market and the money market. The goods market is represented by the IS curve. It's a curve. In our graph, it's a line, which is for the sake of depiction. But in fact, this is a curve, the IS curve. It slopes down and to the right. I stands for investment, S stands for saving. So the IS curve represents the goods market. So the goods market, the assumptions for the goods market, according to Keynes, are the following. The economy is closed, the prices are fixed, all the firms produce the same goods, and at these prices they can produce countless number of goods, which can later be used by firms, households, and government. So this is so much for the goods market. There is another force, the LM curve, which represents the money market. L stands for liquidity preference, M stands for money supply. LM represents the money market. The equilibrium condition, what can make this market exist in its own equilibrium, the assumptions for this are the following. There are only two assets, money and bonds. Money is a liquid asset, but it pays no interest, while bonds pay interest but cannot be used in transactions. And the real wealth is also fixed. So there are a lot of things which are fixed for this model. So this is so much for these two curves, the IS curve and the LM curve, ISLM. Next, on the vertical line, we've got I, which is the interest rate on government bonds. Sometimes it can also be R. I have an I. On the horizontal line, we have a Y. It can be referred to as income or output or GDP. So whenever you hear income or output, it's this axis. It's the horizontal axis, the same axis. So what is so special about this model? How can we explain the stabilization effect that monetary or fiscal policy can have on the economy? So let's imagine that the interest rates are falling, probably the government influenced, or just they are just falling. And people see, oh, the interest rates are falling. Why don't we buy something big, something, some invest in some long-lasting thing, not just like a washing machine, but like a car or maybe a house. So you see, the interest rates are falling, and people buy things. So the consumption is growing, and firms produce more. At the same time, government, which issues bonds, and banks and other firms see, oh, it seems like people have good income. It seems like they're buying a lot. Why don't we probably raise interest on whatever we are selling? Hence, these two forces balance each other, and the economy exists in equilibrium. This model is useful to see what monetary and fiscal policies can have on the economy in the short run when the prices are pretty much fixed and the economy is pretty much closed. But it is not very effective to predict the effect of these policies on long-term unemployment or other long-term goals or things like inflation or exchange rate.